All right, Jordan. It's the same question that I ask everybody at the start of this, but then we get into the fun. Then it's unscripted. But what's your franchise story? How do you even fall into franchising? Because nobody ever thought of being in franchising.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I started the business back in 2011, and we always wanted to make this bigger than just a single location. We never set out to have just one gym. So naturally the two paths are open a bunch of company-owned stores or franchise it. I know a lot of people within the franchising industry, so it just kind of naturally fell into that. I was going to open a couple of company-owned stores before we started franchising, but we worked with some consultants who basically said, look, it's a good model, it's a good prototype. We think you should go for it. So ultimately just wound up taking the plunge in 2016, and here we are.
How many locations do you guys have now?
We have 24 open or under construction.
And how many different franchise owners on the 24?
Most of our franchise owners are single unit owners. So we're now starting to get into the multi-unit phase. So we've got people that are in site selection for their second units. But most of our franchise owners are single unit owners at this stage.
Okay. I think the most important question, were you named after Michael Jordan? Is that why this all comes to fruition?
I wasn't, but a similar time frame in terms of when I was born and when Michael Jordan was coming around. So I can claim that, but it's not true.
Love it. All right. So give me the background on the business. Like, how do you even go from not owning one gym to getting first gym open and seeing the pathway to even getting into the category?
Yeah. So I had this idea, probably starting back in 2001 as I was leaving high school, where I always played pickup basketball, but you face similar frustrations where you show up at a gym, it's unorganized, it takes forever to get on the court, it's intimidating for a lot of people. So I always said if I had a gym, I would have 2 referees on the basketball court and somebody organizing the games. So that was just the spark of the idea. And then the years went on. I mean, it was 10 years before I actually started the business when that idea was going. But, as I moved around the country from Baltimore to Colorado, San Diego, LA, kept playing pickup basketball at, different gyms and community centers and parks. And, eventually it was like, this is a good idea. So I'm a fire aim type of individual. So I quit my job in October 2011 and just set out to do this. Rented a warehouse. Took about 6 months to find a landlord willing to do business with us. I had no background, really no money, but we found a warehouse just outside of LA. Didn't have really any money to outfit it, but we were able to lay down a single full court. There was no air conditioning, no heating, really didn't have any fitness equipment, didn't have wall pads. But we had the idea, and we had a building, and we had a basketball court. We were able to start the business in that fashion, and certainly wasn't, off to the races right away. We had a big grand opening weekend. And after that grand opening, we had 2 members. One of them was my friend's dad. And he wound up canceling about 2 weeks later. So, certainly a rough start, but, the idea took hold and people started to realize, this is a good place to hoop, and it grew from there.
So I'm sure your friend's dad, I mean, shame on him. Who cancels their membership? I get playing one-on-one might be tough if there's only 2 of them, but
he never showed up, and I don't think he understood that it was a membership. I think he just thought it was kind of a first day. You get like a month of access or something like that. So once he realized he was going to be billed again for his second month, he wasn't having it.
How does the pricing structure work for a member?
Yeah, so we split. You can see on our website that you guys have up. We split our business really into 2 verticals. So you got our youth vertical and our adult vertical. So for the adults, that's what we started out with. When we first started, it was just pickup basketball with referees for adults, no youth services at all. And that's pretty much what we offer the adults now. We've got full weight rooms and cardio equipment, so people can come in and lift weights and participate in regular gym activities at all of our gyms. And then for the adults, it's pickup basketball with referees, meaning they can show up, play whenever they want, play as long as they want, play as frequently as they want. Once a week or 7 days a week, they can play for an hour or 4 hours. but it's a lot more structured. It's the original idea. There's refs on the court and there's somebody organizing the games. So that's the adults. Membership price points for adults, usually around $50 a month, depending on the market. So competitive with other options out there. For the youth, it's more training and youth development. So we do one-on-one training, we do skills clinics, we do group training, we do youth development leagues. So those are our, it's a simplified menu, and we do a few things, and we do them very well.
Have the professional athletes found their way into your gyms?
They have. So, it's really for everyone. It sounds cliche, but it's not uncommon to have NBA players, participating in the games or training in the off season at our gyms. We've got a franchise owner who's an NBA player. So yeah, we've got that. We've got people who have, never really dribbled a basketball, and that's kind of the genesis of the company. It just really, if you like basketball, you're welcome here, and you'll have good, clean, competitive runs for adults, and for youth. We've got different tiers of youth. Some that are really good and looking to take their game to the next level. Others who are just starting to learn how to play basketball, and just wanting to be proficient and have fun at it.
If you were to look backwards from this moment back, I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Has it gone the way that you expected? Did you expect faster expansion? Is it good? Like, what's your sentiment right now?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I often remind myself to, stop and smell the roses a little bit, because I think, you get on the treadmill and you're just kind of, have blinders on. And, sometimes it is helpful to realize how far we've come, because it's easy to see, the problems that exist. And, there's always problems with expanding a business, and challenges, and, things that we have to overcome. But I think if I had a crystal ball 11 years ago when we started, and you told me we'd be at this point where we've expanded nationally and we've got gyms across the country, and, a really reputable brand, I mean, that's a dream come true. So, that's part of it. And then the other part is we have a long way to go. We're still figuring things out. We've got a lot of expansion left to go. We feel like we have a lot more upward mobility in terms of the services that we can offer and the guest experience. So, but that's the fun part. That's what keeps us going every day.
Love it. What's the cost to get in?
Ballpark between $500,000 and $1 million. So that includes franchise fee, all of your development costs to get you to day one in business, and then working capital as well. So it really depends on how big you want to go. We have clubs as small as 10,000 square feet, and clubs over 30,000 square feet. So it's really kind of the footprint that the franchise owner wants to go with. The nice thing with our model is it's really the same model no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what size of facility you have, you can just service more people with a bigger facility. So that's the main driver in how much the investment is ultimately.
Well, I imagine a little bit different than some of the mainstream gyms. You don't have to go in top tier real estate because people are willing to. It could be a back lot. I'll still play pickup ball, especially with the structure that you've put around it.
Yeah, for sure. So, our original location was in a warehouse, very industrial, a nice building, not run down. It was actually, at the time we leased it, it was only a couple years old, but in a very industrial area. I mean, no foot traffic, no drive-by traffic. So, we've followed that model with some of our clubs where it's in more light industrial areas. And then some of our clubs are very retail. We were co-tenants with a Planet Fitness. It was an old Albertsons in the DFW market. So that's very retail. We've got a club just outside of Denver that's in the same complex as a bowling alley and a movie theater and a bunch of restaurants. So, it fits both bills. But like you say, people are going to show up for basketball on the youth and the adult side. So it's certainly not a requirement for us to have, main type of location.
So what's the vision for, say, the next year? Where do you want to get to?
Yeah, that's a good question. Our primary focus, I mean, we're oversubscribed, for lack of a better term, on the demand for franchises. Last month we got 1,100 plus inquiries to franchise with us. So that side of the business is really, it's almost automatic. And, we're fortunate. We get a lot of inquiries, meaning we can be very selective with the franchise owners we choose. So our focus and most of our resources currently are going towards the unit economics. So we really want to make sure that, every club owner isn't just, making a decent return. We want solid returns for every single store. And if that means expanding a little bit slower, but the unit economics are more favorable, we're all for that. So much of our focus is going towards that. We've invested a lot into our training. So we've got 7-week training curriculum that occurs every quarter. That's for new franchisees, but we also encourage existing franchisees and their staff to attend that training. We've been very encouraged by the attendance at that. So that seems to be helping a lot with, a full adoption of the model and just making sure that the guest experience at all PickUp USAs is dialed in. So that's really our focus. You said for the next 12 months. I think for at least the next 12 months, that's what we're heavily focused on. And again, we're in a fortunate position where the expansion side of the business in terms of opening new units is relatively automatic.
Yeah. Are you making earnings claim in item 19?
No, not really. I mean, we follow the counsel of our lawyers in terms of what to put in there, but we've got a healthy amount of metrics that go into there in terms of allowing prospective franchise owners to build out a pro forma. So during our discovery process, when we send the disclosure document, we actually have a 2-hour call with them where we walk them through the FDD. We walk them through all the metrics within item 19, which shows, average membership signups, average rent rate, and then we give them an accompanying pro forma worksheet so they can really build out the model line by line. So that's how we present it to them, really just full transparency. Here's the model. Here's what you can do with it. Here's the rent rates we see on average. Here's average payroll, and, make sure they can make an informed decision about what they're getting into.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you start breaking down why is a buyer going to buy into it, and frankly, again, with the lead volume that you have, it's not a lack of interest. It then comes down to, are you finding the qualified buyer that can scale with you and is looking at the business the right way? But the two things that franchisees say that turn them off is the same two things that push them over the edge, which is culture, which clearly the pure culture of PickUp basketball is competitive. Even when I play every Sunday, when I go back to Chicago, I have not found my new group in Atlanta. But I think about how I played. Like, I still want to be better. I'm 43 years old. I'm not going to be an NBA player, but I still think about how many points did I score that day. So it's like the culture of competition is still high. And then it comes down to the next thing, which is the business model. What's the cost to get in? How much can I make? And can I build wealth for why I'm doing this, which tends to be family? What is the legacy that I'm building off of this business? And so if you're cross-applying some of those viewpoints back to your business, which it seems like you are, then it's setting up a pretty good structure. Then it turns into awareness of the opportunity in markets that you're not in, because it is it's a cool business model. It's something that, like, things that people can get passionate about. If you have any affinity for basketball, it's very easy to understand. Like, all right, this would be kind of cool to have this in my community.
Yeah, for sure. And we get franchise owners that really see all sides of it. So some are really focused. They've got a similar story to you where they're 43 years old. They still play pickup frequently. They see a lack of places to play in their area, so they really want to bring it here. You've got others that, they're driving their kids around to, basketball camps and AAU circuits, and they just see, lack of facilities and options for their kids. So they get in because of that reason. So, everybody who we ultimately award a franchise to is bought into what we do. Like, they're into this because they're like, wow, this is an amazing idea. And a story we hear pretty frequently is, I was thinking about doing this on my own. I started doing research and you guys popped up, and it's like, well, you guys have the model figured out. Let's expand together. So, I mean, that's really that's a given. And then, you hit the nail on the head with the next one, and it's the economics of the business. Like, the dollars have to make sense. So we're very deliberate about that with people in our discovery process, making sure that, yes, this is fun. It's a cool business. You're going to enjoy going to work every day, but it is also a business. You have to build a team and you have to be focused on, our 5 areas of the business: marketing, sales, guest experience, HR, and finance. You have to have that put together for this to be, successful for you in your market.
Love it. So I would imagine when you added the children component to it, it was all to drive unit level economics, because that's an easy sell and nobody really can solve that unless you're a gym at the park district. It's not like the I-9 Sports can automatically start offering basketball. It's a little bit more complex because of availability of hoops. Was that an aha moment where you're like, all right, if we add the youth side, that's going to increase the volumes that allow the franchisee, which probably they were passionate about the adult side on the go, but we knew we could find additional revenues.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say I was personally blind to it. It really opened my eyes once we started to realize how big of an opportunity it was. Because for me, I didn't really ever play organized basketball. So I didn't play, AAU or high school basketball or anything like that. So I didn't really understand sort of the back end. I was the pickup basketball guy just my whole life. So I built the business based on that. And it took a couple of years for me to kind of come around to the fact of, what the opportunity was. And we figured that out prior to franchising. So when we rolled out the franchise model, we had already, incorporated the youth element to it. But certainly it's a huge piece of what we do. On average, it's in our FDD item 19, but it's about a 50-50 split in terms of quantity of members, youth to adults at our clubs now. But the youth members are bringing in much more per head. So, for our youth development league, typically $100, $150 per month, plus the youth are the ones that are doing the one-on-one training, and those packages are usually $60, $70 per hour. So, I was unfortunately blind to it for the first couple of years, but now that we've gotten into it, that's a huge driver of revenue for the stores.
Camps too?
Yeah. So, we try and build it around, a central youth development league. So essentially kids that come in, they sign up, they're a part of this league. And then the league gives you, at most clubs, 2 practices per week. So they practice with their team, and then they get a league game on the weekends. And we've got all the in-house referees and scoreboards and stats and all of that. And then what we do is we incorporate camps into that. So as a part of your 8-week youth development league, you're going to have 2 or 3 camps. And the NIL rules that have changed where now you can pay college athletes for their name, image, and likeness. That's been huge for us. So we can bring in, a D1 basketball player from UCLA, USC, whichever the local college is, and they'll conduct the camp. So it brings a lot of value to the families. Obviously, we have very good trainers that are with the kids, throughout the whole league and their practices and their games and coaching them up. But then we'll bring in these guest trainers, and, there's a lot of hype behind it. The kids love it. Parents love it. So, certainly camps are a part of it.
All right. So if I were you, if I bought your business tomorrow, I would put in an element that dropped from a company called Cameo. Not Cameo. Now I use the wrong name. Cameo's the wrong one. It was called Thuzio.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Thuzio?
I don't think so.
So Tiki Barber created this thing, and it started off as athlete or celebrity experiences. And so, anybody that plays pickup basketball can probably point towards some sort of memory where something spectacular happened on the court, whether they launched the ball and hit a full court shot or they had an experience. I can tell you a time that I got dunked on by Corey Maggette, and then I can tell you this. So what Thuzio did, I paid $500, and I brought Bill Wennington, who played for the Bulls, played with Jordan, brought him to Sunday pickup. And so I bring this 7-foot center, and I go, he's on my team. And first of all, our pickup games usually take about 30 minutes. First game took an hour because everybody was so afraid to play with Bill Wennington. but it was such a memorable thing. That thing was probably 10 years ago, and everybody still talks about it. So you start adding that element in here, that you bring some former NBA players or they can come play the pickup with other people. That element takes you to a whole new level, because the buzz that comes off of that could be crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, send me that link. I'll look at that for sure.
I love it. All right,
build a dream squad.
Yeah, right. Jordan, to someone that's a ghost, and again, you've already said it, lead generation not the issue. You need lead generation in the right markets, clearly. But let's say there's a ghost, they've watched it up to this point. What do you want them to know about the business to make them fill out that form and reach out?
Yeah, I mean, I think we try and make people feel, comfortable with the process. Certainly it's an interview process, but we look at it as a two-way interview. They're interviewing us to see if this is where they want to put their money, and we're interviewing them to see if it's a good fit. And, we're big on fit. We want to take our time up front to make sure that everybody's aligned. That way, once a franchise agreement is signed, we can go full speed ahead without questions or any type of doubt. So, we're big on transparencies. We're going to tell people the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't look at it as selling franchises. We look at it as developing partnerships in these markets where we're expanding. And, it probably sounds cliche, but, it's going to be a lot of headache for everyone involved if it's just not a good fit as we start the relationship and they open their club. So, I think as people are looking at the business online, I'm sure it's intriguing. The first step is, they download an e-brochure. There's no commitment to that. If they like what they see, then they fill out what we call a franchising form. It takes about 15 minutes to complete. And then we give a more comprehensive packet after that franchising form's filled out. We've got 3 people on our development team, Brianna, Grace, and Gary. So, they're all there really just trying to educate people on what we do and what this franchise opportunity is, and make sure the individual is going to have long-term success with us.
Love it. I love the approach. I love the category. I mean, if I'd be an awful franchisee. Let me be clear. I'm more of an entrepreneur, and you don't want me saying all the things that are wrong in a system. But if I were going to pick something that I would be really interested in from a passion standpoint, this is it. I love what you put together. I think you're going down the right path. And frankly, I can also see there's the depth of businesses that will eventually be your buyer someday, because you fit in, you fill a gap in fitness or wellness or health that a lot of people can't close other than park districts that have the big real estate. So love what you're doing. Keep it up. Look forward to seeing where the story goes, but thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us on, Nick. Look forward to doing it again in the future.
Another episode of Meet the Zor. Take care.